That's it straight. And game number 3. We're going into Tomb of the Spider Queen once more here. And chosen by L5.
So this is one of the smallest maps in the map pool. So L5 switching it up because the first 2 maps that they picked were pretty large and were dependent on sweeping macro plays. So we're going to see a new side of the 2 teams that we have today.
And also possibly Judy, his ETC, the old favorite, of course, with the changes to his trait. It's a little bit of a less pick right now, but on this battleground has been picked a few times, and Judy maybe will be considering going into ETC with all those lane pressure, with the power slide coming in for the gank.
I'm okay with the meta that we have now, but I miss ETC. ETC is such a fun tank to
ETC
watch.
was one of my most too, and after that, I've been having a tough time with Anubarak, but it's coming back.
So a difference in the draft approach from MVP Miracle, they did not first ban Illidan this time.
Not this time.
So maybe they're looking to first pick it. It would not be the first time that they have approached the draft with that strategy.
Well, seems like Dami has been putting a lot of picks into Marthael though, as oftentimes we see similar prioritization coming out from Miracle and Black.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they practice and live together, of course. And it seems like it's coming off in lots of the games, but Miracle, I think, maybe it's time to bring up something new, as they're down 0-2 right now.
So do you think they're going to ban Malthael, Illidan, or Genji?
I think it's more likely Genji. They can still let that happen because they won against the Genji dive comp last time.
Or maybe they have some secret information and they're suddenly going to ban Medivh.
Or Gazlowe. Who knows?
Or Gazlowe. Clock's ticking down.
Ooh, surprising. They want to go... okay, they want to go in for the support choke. They do not want to give Uther out, which means that they want to take the double support, I think.
This is extremely interesting, but obviously with everything up on the table, Miracle is going to first pick the Genji. So interesting to see what L5 decide to answer this with.
Ooh, I was expecting a little bit more of Tastar Stitches, but Marthael already picked up along with Stitches from L5. Of course, would take that away from Dami this time.
I'm still trying to figure out why the Uther first ban came out from L5.
I think they want to go in for the support choke and have some other support who we have not been seeing too much. Maybe Brightwing, as we mentioned before. This is not the perfect map for Brightwing, but still. Letting them have the dive comp and having a Brightwing Emerald Wind to counter, I think that's an okay. Or with the Stitches, they can of course go with the Malfurion. Also bring in Tastar to have the shield onto Marthael will of course bring in more sustain for himself.
I guess if they were dead set on picking Stitches and Malthael in the first round of the first rotation, no matter what, then it makes sense to ban Uther. So I guess that's the only explanation, right?
Here's Diablo coming in, the Merc Diablo.
I would like to see a Zeratul ban coming out here because Zeratul and Genji have always worked well together, and Diablo, Zeratul, Malfurion, that's something that you don't really want to have the opposition team to.
Yeah, that's the real wombo combo we've been seeing, and oftentimes, if you guys remember, it was on this battleground, especially, look at that stat though, 1-5. That tells us something.
Lyric ban. The Greymane ban, I guess, is pretty much standard. Solid pick against Diablo. Although Greymane does tend to fare pretty badly against Malfurion, so I'm not sure if they really had to ban it, but nevertheless, solid ban. Very standard. And now, L5 has to show us why they were so dead set on picking Stitch's Malthael in the first rotation.
Because Malf is already taken on the other side, the CC is removed, and Uther point-and-click stun is also gone. I believe Tempest was using some Brightwing along with Stitches with the polymorph coming in handy and doing burst damage. It's not a stun, but of course it provides a lot more opportunity for your team to put in that burst damage onto the target.
So we could see that. Lucio is also very standard on this map, so we could see Lucio we could also see the Zeratul so that it pressures out the Medivh, but we see a Rhaegar and Lunara, so... Are we going to see a Bear Lunara, or will it be
I think just last pick Tassadar
yeah.
is okay. Also, Tassadar pairs up pretty well with Marthael. And also pretty good wave clear, so they can have a pretty good wave clear along with the rotations. I think it works out overall on this map. Of course, Tomb of the Spider Queen is the battleground for you guys.
Alternatively, MVP Miracle could decide to just go for a triple assassin composition here. They have some experience running just triple DPS, and it has worked out well for them in the past. For example, I think against either L5 or MVP Black, I can't remember, but they ran triple DPS on Tomb of the Spider Queen against a very strong team and came out ahead with it, and in that game, they ran Genji as well. So they might be going for that, especially since Malthael is stronger against tanks, so taking more DPS heroes could be an option.
Ooh,
and
so
taking away the Tassadar.
Yeah, so that will be the choice of MVP Miracle. Bringing the Mage with the double reset Genji Li Ming is the comp. Okay. So they want to bring in a little bit more protection, just like MVP Black. What they did today was to just last pick Medivh. It could have been a better choice. It was actually the perfect choice. And in here, it also pretty much fits, but I think they have something else in their head.
I guess, although Zarya is pretty out of the meta at this point, I could see it working in this particular situation. Zarya has always been very solid against Li Ming and works well in protecting ranged assassins.
That's right.
When Tassadar isn't available, so we could see that. We could also see, I don't know, something alternative like Right Wing, as you mentioned, although I'm not too convinced with that pick at this moment in time. Or they could just go triple frontline, as was the standard in the old days on this map. And they go for the Karazim, so I'm actually extremely curious as to who will play which support hero, because L5 has not really been known for having other players play support heroes.
Yeah, and double support is kind of rare for L5 to actually bring it out, but they're up against the double resets. I think that Palm will be very, very important, saving their teammates. Guys, we are going into game number 3. Could be the last one for tonight. MVP Miracle is looking to turn this around with game number 3 at L5. Of course, with the double support, we're looking for the save. Let's go into Tomb of the Spider Queen and see what happens. In blue, MVP Miracle, Judy on Diablo, Dami on Genji, Jaehyun on Malfurion, C moving on Li Ming, and Sniper on Tassadar.
And in the red, we see L5 with Hooligan on Stitches, SC on Lunara, Jungha on Malthael, SDE on Karazim, and Swoi on Rhaegar. So this should be interesting. I'm excited to see SDE play Karazim. We saw a lot of Swoi's Rhaegar, but not SDE's Karazim.
And Karazim is somewhat of, not just somewhat, he is very powerful. Especially after 16 with the 100 Fist.
Obviously, the question is whether L5 will be ahead or at least sort of even until that point in time. And interesting statistics, Rhaegar has a 0% win rate against Li Ming on this patch.
Ooh.
When we're looking at Korean Europe, so that's an interesting statistic.
Why not NA?
Well, it's primarily because, well,
are you being toxic again?
No. Like, if I wanted to be toxic, then I would say that it's because NA is bad, but that's actually not the case. I only use like Korea and Europe statistics. Oh, Swoi caught in a bit of a trouble here.
Judy turns that around, actually, using that opportunity.
So the early game going in MVP Miracle's favor, definitely. But going back to my previous point.
Shots fired.
No, I'm not saying that NA is bad. Like, I only say that's because I know for a fact that all Korean pros look at EU drafts and the EU meta for for research. but none of them look at any NA games. I don't think that this is a good attitude. I think that they should look at NA games too, but I know for a fact that they only look at EU games.
And that's one of the teams got punished 0-22, never forget, you know?
Yeah, that's what happens if you disrespect NA like that.
Yes, that's...
So I hope that at the next international tournament, they won't be as cocky, but well, as of now, they are still being a bit cocky when it comes to like respecting regional metas and whatnot. So that's why I only use like statistics for EU and KR.
Well, that covered the beginning of the game for game number 3 for us. Well, well, let's go back into game. And
well, nothing
pretty even
really
game,
happened,
yes.
except for that kill on Regar. So.
Well, that's the thing. That's Rally's stat coming out for you guys that I think he's bringing a lot of very good points, and Swoi actually getting caught. And Dami was looking for the kill, potentially. He barely saved him at the last moment.
So MVP Miracle are staying slightly ahead in gem count and definitely ahead when it comes to turn-ins. So that early kill onto Regar is starting to pay off. Lunara has to go back. Miracle are rotating onto the top lane.
As you can see, SDE's positioning, he has been very offensive in his positioning. He is just going in, dashing in with those punches and just relying on his teammates as a support to actually heal him back. And that,
it's a bit surprising to see because SD usually isn't a very aggressive player. Hook onto Diablo, not going to mount too much. SD really wants to fight.
Yeah, look at the positioning. Like, of course you can dash out, but only if you have that charge though. Judy comes in for the, oh, does miss, barely misses onto that root. I think that wasn't really much about Judy's fault, but a little more towards Jaehyun there.
Yeah, but that was a really nice try. Lunari has to be feeling pretty lucky to get out of that scot-free.
But that's the exact reason why Miracle brought in Diablo, looking for those possible potential picks.
So definitely their draft has a purpose, whereas L5's draft, Karazim, I don't know. Let's see if it pays off. But so far, MVP Miracle staying way ahead in gem count and almost have all of them turned in. And gets a pick onto SD. Probably not a kill though.
Or are they not going to a great hook onto a minion hooligan there?
Great hook onto minion.
That's all I could say there. But Genji, of course, coming in for the help, so they have to retreat. But meanwhile, they've been soaking the bot lane, so MVP Miracle looking to punish.
Sweet dash from Dami. Wow.
Sick dash from Dami there, getting that kill.
What's the difference between sweet and sick?
Spellings? Well, there. Well, there's a harasser from SDE. Look at how aggressive he is, even though he can't really harass all of them at the same time. But he's going in, dashing in, just to harass a little bit.
And L5 do have Maltheo and Lunara and Regar to assist with the wave clear, but something to keep in mind is that Lunara's wave clear isn't too great until late game because her toxin scales differently. So hopefully L5 will be able to defend against this without losing too much, but their current distribution of heroes makes it seem unlikely. They are definitely going to lose all of the outer walls, does it not? Except for the top one.
And they're behind a level here. Half a level only, but this will definitely give them a full level lead. And they're making this really double support. And there's a cleanse actually used pretty well from Swoi, and Dami's looking for the kill.
Oh!
He will get it with the cyber agility, with the auto attacks, but that will also cost him his life. Very good hook coming out from Hooligan this time.
Really good response from Hooligan. Wonderful cleanse coming out from Swoi as well, but it was just not enough.
And Dami used this D there to go over and look for the auto attack. Did get the kill, but that was too late and he could not get the reset onto his Z. If he did, then he could have, but was not within the next 2 seconds.
So as we said, all of the outer walls going down with the first batch of Web Reavers, although L5 managed to cut their losses at 1/4. So L5 won't be too unhappy, but it's difficult to see them inching back into this game until they defend the second batch of Web Reavers. 17 gems might look like a lot, but MVP Miracle had a 1-level lead to gather that.
So there's an APOC already popped, though. Good escape coming out from L5. Dragon Blade doing tons of damage, but will not be too effective right now.
Not the most successful use of APOC, I would say. And L5 will be able to breathe much easier for a slight moment. They are now closing in on the long-awaited level 10 mark.
And also, Tastar going for the wall because Leoric was banned out from the other side. No Entomb, so wall kind of is with the same use of Entomb other side, but hold on to that thought. Judy is looking for the pick, does get the root. The Synergate comes along, seems like there will be a kill. The reset has happened on Dami, but he does not want to go all in.
They are not going to chase, but we really have to praise how on point the combination between Diablo and Malfurion has been in this game. I mean, sure, they made a few mistakes, especially 2-on-2 Lunara, but only one of them resulted in a kill being not attained. And
Ooh, actually, not Palm. 7-sided coming out.
interesting.
Ancestral. I thought it was Palm because of the last pick looking to cancel those resets happening on Li Ming and Genji. But seems like Ancestral may be enough. Let's see.
I find it interesting primarily because I don't think that Palm is like super necessary, but simply because I can't really see the other ultimate gaining too much value.
Yeah,
but
the Bloodlust
it's so dependent on Stitches landing a good hook.
Yeah.
But if that happens, then the 7-sided should gain a lot of value. So a lot resting on the laurels of Hooligan in this game.
That's a lot of if and not much CC for L5 to actually help them getting the pick. So let's see if that pays off a little bit. But meanwhile, Miracle has been pushing with these Web Weavers.
Oh, wow!
That's the kind of... We're not going to fully admit. Actually, Jungha steps in with the Tormented Soul, looking for those rips onto the souls. A little bit more. And Nara leaps around, does not get the finishing blow onto Judy though.
Not the greatest use of APOC again, and Malfurion is going to fall down.
Nicely done by SCSC. Using that leap just like that. I thought he was about to blow off the map or something. He was just leaping around the target, putting in burst damage onto Judy. I think if they focused onto 2 other targets, they could have got a lot more kills.
Possibly, but we really need to highlight how well Hooligan has been doing on this Stitches pick so far. Oh, and he does it again!
Diablo though this time, 7-sided not available, but the damage coming out from Marthiel is crazy enough. Wow.
Had 7-sided strike been available, that would have been much more disastrous
At
for
least
MVP
2
Miracle.
kills for sure.
So they're going to get their first turn in, and with Li Ming dead and most of the heroics on MVP Miracle's side no longer available, they should get at least 1 fort out of this, hopefully.
And damaging multiple targets at the same time as Marthiel, and when you have only Tassadar and Malfurion on the other side, they can only heal and protect 2 targets at once. Hold on to that tongue. Great cleanse onto Jungha. Hooligan actually coming in to take the damage and use the bile for the protection. That's an okay response.
So the only heroic used in that tussle was Bile, and L5 pushing in strong with the Web Weavers in the mid lane. This is not going to take a fort, but perhaps the Weaver in the bottom lane will.
Lot of EXP, 13-13, and Hooligan's hooks, as you mentioned, has been very effective most of the times. But sometimes Jungha did step over the line, sometimes Swoi had to use cleanse to save him. But lucky for them, they turned that around because of SCSC most of the time. But here comes the wall, and Hooligan gets in stress roll. He's still safe. Maybe it's time to really engage, but the Twilight Dream is real, and MVP Miracle is turning this around.
That was such a fantastic force wall. Caught everyone in the place exactly where MVP Miracle wanted it to, and full team wipe coming out from MVP Miracle. They dropped so many gems. They dropped like 75 gems.
It's 0. It's 0 right now on the top bottom corner of the screen.
They dropped like 75 gems. How are they going to come back from this? Well,
with the miraculous combat.
Yeah, well,
team fights and combat, of course.
It's a rhetorical question. So.
Well, but with this boss, they will hit 16, and soon they will also have the Web Weavers going in for their own side. That was a crazy team fight, and the wall placement was perfectly done. And the
Such a
Twilight
beautiful
Dream
wall.
timing was crazy because Marthael was trying to dive in, but was silenced at the exact moment. So
That really was the team fight that MVP Miracle was looking for all game long. And I don't know, L5, sure, you have to fault them a bit for overextending slightly beyond the range of that force wall, but I think in cases like that, in team fights like that, you just have to praise the force wall for being so brilliantly placed.
let's see, MVP Miracle looking for a big comeback here, but the percent damage onto the boss has been doing some work here.
So it really comes down to, oh,
There's
but
a hook,
Lunara's
cleanse.
got...
It's just enough with the healing. Ancestral is back in 1 second. That was, if Lunara died there, that Miracle could have forced a little bit more onto the keep.
Lunara made the right decision, although SC knew that he couldn't jump over to anywhere safe.
That's right.
The 2 frames of Unstoppable allowed, alongside with the cleanse, for Lunara to survive the initial burst and CC. So, well done by L5. Decent defense of that boss push, but soon the next batch of Web Weavers are going to come out, and L5 are going to be caught in a pincer again.
Yeah, because they lost so much. They only have 17 in their hands. And seems like Miracle has exactly enough for the turn-in now. And it's still a long way to go for L5 to hit that 16 talent.
Yeah, so it's a steep battle for L5. Well, on the bright side, Karazim gets a huge power spike at level 16, so we need to watch out for that. And also, Lunara scales heavily into the late game, so a lot of good things going on for L5 as well. But so far, MVP Miracle are definitely in the lead.
Yeah, that's right. But I think Hooligan is overstepping a little bit, and Ancestral has been pretty good onto Hooligan most of the times, but if he does not get trapped in the wall alone, then they can get a hook, possibly even get a kill from there. I think Hooligan's positioning has been costing L5 a little bit.
SD was trying to figure out whether he should go towards the top Web Weaver to defend that prematurely or handle the mid lane instead. He decides to go for the mid lane, but Stitches is in trouble.
Takes some damage, doesn't even have to pop the Ancestral. Of course, that's gonna help be so much more handy. But here's the Ancestral does not connect onto Marthael. So much damage already removed, and all they can do is lose this keep and try to take control over the other lanes. But seems like Miracle is looking for the core.
They can just posture towards the core, and hopefully they can just chip off some of the shield. Gets a decent hook off, but it's not going to do anything really. And by posturing
seems like
for
we
a
saw
core
this
call,
before.
yeah, they essentially took down the top keep due to posturing as if they were going to go for the core. So good call from MVP Miracle to move slightly aggressively like that. And they probably want to back off from this, but they might be feeling adventurous.
This is a small choke point, and Marthael does have the Tormented Soul. Let's see if he wants to go dive in. Not for now.
L5 decides to be a little bit less
Ooh,
hasty,
but does want to punish. Gets cleansed, but SD is in very dangerous positioning. He actually dashes out. For now, there's the Tormented Soul.
Twilight Dream available, but only hits one.
SD leaps around. Ancestral connects, and Dami cannot look for the kill.
Is it going to be a 0-0 team fight?
Oh, Sniper gets the wall. We'll save him for the moment. Swoy's looking for the kill. Dami is in dangerous position, gets barely. And I think Hook is about to be back, but okay.
Swoy playing a bit like Hyde right there. I can't believe it. No one died.
That was a team fight for sure. But meanwhile, this camp has been putting a lot of the damage into the last keep standing for L5. And look at the map. All forts are still up for Miracle's side.
So L5 put in a very disadvantageous position. They don't even have enough gems yet for a turn-in. So do they have anything to do until level 20? Until Miracle's level 20? Not really. The boss is in the...
They can look for a pick. I think that would be the ideal in terms of the situation right now, but it seems pretty tough, and
SD is in trouble.
And it has to be cleansed, and double support has been really working out, but you can't really Ancestral Kerosene like that, so. And Ancestral is still on cooldown.
It was lucky that nothing bad happened.
Walls came back, and there's the root continuing on to Stitches. Ancestral is not available for 11 more seconds. There's the 7-sided strike. That's the value we're talking about.
Finally, some great value coming out of 7-sided strike. And now L5 earns so much time out of that kill. Because Diablo is going to want to stack up at least some soul stones before he engages again.
Rip Souls.
Rip Souls. So MVP Miracle are going to get 20 pretty soon, which means that L5 will have less of a window to posture forwards. Interesting to see whether L5 can finally get their second turn-in of the game, though.
And it will buy some time, but Miracle is about to hit 20, and L5 still full 2 levels away from 20, that is. They have enough gems.
If they're going to fight, they need to do it now.
Yeah, they need to do it now. The camp on the bottom lane is pushing, and Miracle knows that, and they hit 20 now.
And now Jonga is in trouble.
Oh, there's a root.
He's
and
in huge trouble. Oh, wow.
Looking forward to come in, and he does a lot of damage. Ancestral does connect, cleanses Stitches, but Judy is in dangerous position. Great Twilight Dream to cancel all the damage. There's the reset onto Dami. Seems like Dragon Blade will be continuing for a longer time, and reset doesn't even matter on Genji. Crazy Moving is here to get more kills, and there's the charge from Judy, and more kills. Seems like that's going to be the end of game number 2. Miracle coming back into the series.
Coming back into the series with a huge roar. This was a very dominant game against L5. If you look at the map, L5 failed to take even a single fort in this game. That's how dominant MVP Miracle's victory was.
14-4, and the core goes down. Game 3 going to MVP Miracle. Wow. I thought they were having a tough time after game number 2, but after a short break, that was all they need. And even though they won game 3, Crazy Moving does not seem too happy.
So we talked about how MVP Miracle's mental fortitude was going to be tested in this game. And they have come out through the test with flying colors. They didn't look like a team that was 2-0 down. They were very confident throughout the entire game, always on the aggressive with Judy and Jaehyun, looking for those picks with Diablo and Malfurion, oftentimes connecting and not getting discouraged, even though they missed a lot of times in the early games.
Yeah,
so
that's right.
Really impressive from MVP Miracle to come back into the series like that. And on the other hand, L5, maybe SD shouldn't play Karazim, right? I mean, he did a very good job. I don't think it's what lost them that game, his individual play. But the thing is, they didn't look as polished as they were in their previous games. They were flawless in execution in their 2 previous games. In this game, they were disjointed. They clearly were playing with a less familiar composition, and sometimes when you let the other team have heroes such as Genji and Li Ming, one mistake cost you the entire game, and this is not what you want to do against Crazy Moving and Dami.
It seemed like for the entire game, L5 did not have a really good answer against that Diablo charging in and connecting with the CC. Sometimes what just once was responded perfectly with the 7-sided strike, but just once in that entire game, and kill score was 14-4. I gotta say the MVP of that game was Sniper, having the perfect wall placed right before the Judy goes in. I think that really brought the game together for Miracle. Of course, it's really hard to pinpoint all the. Of course, they all did great in that game, but really initiating the fight with the perfect wall placement, trapping Hooligan most of the time out of the entire team of L5. Really got them the boost, and I think started the team fight put it in their favor.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with that. It's the MVP either has to be either Sniper or Judy, I think, because Judy, he could have been very discouraged after game 2, right? His getting continuously picked off as Tyrael, what essentially lost him the game. But instead of being discouraged, instead of